It's the JT Cho Show!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the JT Show. This is the second podcast. I'm probably going to have to pay Disney thousands in royalty fees. I'm JT, and we're going to talk about a fantastic topic today. But first, breaking news. LeBron James is ruining Taco Tuesday. Now, I know there's people that hate LeBron James out there and still like Taco Tuesday, but I know that there is a group of people united in that front that feel the same exact way I do, because you didn't invent it. This wasn't your thing that you originally came up with. And the way that you say it, like, it's not your idea. And you're ruining it, and I'm tired of it. We're going to do a poll. Probably 3 people will vote on it because nobody cares, because nobody watches the show, because this is the second podcast. But in my book, LeBron James is ruining Taco Tuesday. So we have a special event happening during our second podcast, which is our first guest. And yes, I'd like to have this person in person, but he lives in Cali. He's a Cali guy. I live in Michigan, so it's kind of far away. So we're going to do a over the phone interview, and I've adjusted my blue mic here, and I've got it on interview mode, so it's going to sound as good as it possibly can sound over the phone, hopefully. So, without further ado, the commissioner of the NFFLFS cut will be joining us as soon as he picks up. Hello.
Yo.
Okay, that's good. I can hear that for sure.
Man.
So, hey, everyone, welcome. And everyone welcome the commissioner, Cut.
I'm your guy.
So, let's start out. I've written down a bunch of numbers. Let's just talk about our league. This is what, our second year doing this league?
Yeah, this is year 2. Year 2, the NFFLFS.
And what's the NFFLFS stand for?
The National Fantasy Football League for Scrunts.
We're all scrunts, skanky cunts.
Yeah.
That's by one of our kind of friends, kind of a friend, but he's always got 50 cal firing.
Always, every time.
I
heard he didn't even have 50 cal firing.
Dude, he didn't even go. That's what he didn't even go to 50 cal. We were going to go visit him, and he was going to come down and hang out, but he had 50 cal firing that he didn't even have.
What a jackwagon.
So we used that. We entered that in, and we had 9 military members, and not all active duty, just people that we met throughout our previous careers. And then we had 1 civilian. So we're not going to name his name because I'm not getting hit for slander when I make no money from this. So we're going to call him Dick. So Dick here.
Dick's a bitch.
Dick is the dickest of dicks, and I'll explain why. So we're not going to get into why he quit, but Dick just decided to quit the league. So one day I woke up, and Munger, who you'll learn to hate, you don't know Munger yet, but Cut hates him. You hate him, Cut, don't you?
Every time.
Every time. So Munger hit me up and said, hey, can I pick up... It was like a promising running back. I forget who it was. It was Ingram. And Ingram was having like a pretty good season. No, who was it? Kamara. Yeah. Ingram's not. Anyways, so yeah, it was Kamara, and I was like, why is Kamara available? So this kid dumps his team in the league, and so instead of having 10 people actively playing, it was 9 teams with 1 team having an empty roster. And me being the assistant to the regional commissioner, I had to go into my duties to reload his team from the previous week, and then we had to find a backup. So basically now we have an all-military league of people who have either served or not served, but they're just solid dudes that we met throughout our military career.
All solid guys.
All right, so
I'll go from 1 to 10. I'll let Cut talk about his team, kind of like what he's gone into for the season. So in first place, the commissioner. Conspiracy theory.
Your boy.
Being a commissioner doesn't melt steel beams. So his team is Team Cut. Some stats. Cut's outscored his opponents by a positive of 449 points on the season. So
it's big. I've averaged 45-point differential between me and my opponents.
I picked that up as well. So just kind of go over your team, kind of like what you thought when you drafted and how your payouts have been this season.
I figured I thought about it in the beginning, and last year I drafted wide receivers pretty heavy, and it didn't work out for me at all. I took 7th in an 8-man league, and the 8th guy didn't win his last 6 games, so I was pretty much last place. So this year I decided I was going to go running back heavy, and I got really lucky. Got the 2nd overall pick, and Christian McCaffrey just fell to me. And I don't think there's a single team out there with Christian McCaffrey on the roster that's not in playoffs.
Right.
Round 2, I picked up Dalvin Cook. Obviously, he's the number 2 running back on the year, which was solid for me. And I figured at the beginning of the year, if he stayed healthy, he was going to be a solid playmaker. And then I go down the line. I got Phillip Lindsay and Josh Jacobs. And then at the beginning of the year, I decided Lamar Jackson was going to be the number 1 highest scoring fantasy player on the season, and I was 100% correct.
I remember that.
In like the 8th round.
Kept throwing it in our faces.
Every chance I could get, I was going to throw it in your face. And he's been more than I expected. He's by far the QB1 on the year.
You got the QB.
Running backs have been carrying me.
Your Christian McCaffrey is owned by 84.4% of owners in 500 public leagues and is voted the MVP for fantasy football this year so far.
Yeah, I decided if I win out this year, if I win the championship, I'm going to get a Christian McCaffrey jersey. But I'm not going to get the Carolina one. I'm going to get like a black and white one. Just got his number and the McCaffrey on the back. That way I'm not a loser.
Just look up where he went to college, and so you don't have to be a total traitor to the Patriots.
Oh, where'd he go? I don't even know where he went.
I don't know. Maybe Kentucky. I don't know if that's a thing.
Oh, he went to Stanford, obviously.
Did he really?
Yeah, he went to Stanford. He broke
under Harbaugh, right?
All-purpose yards record in Stanford.
Yeah.
He was a beast coming out of college. I don't know. Last year he did very well, but this year he's
I saw those off-season workouts. I was like, yeah, that's how I want to work. That's how I want to work out, but that's just too much.
He gained 20 pounds and didn't lose any speed, which is unheard of.
He's going for that 1,500 receiving yards and 1,500 rushing yards on the season.
Yeah, that'll be impressive.
He's crazy.
Yeah, but other than that, on my team, I lucked out. I had David Njoku at the beginning of the year for my tight end. I ended up picking up Darren Waller on the waivers, and he's been a top 5 tight end ever since. Josh Jacobs was my 4th round pick, and he's been going off all year. My team's basically all quarterback and running backs. Now, my wide receivers, they're not weak, but they're not strong by any means.
Did you collect any waivers today? I didn't even take a look.
I did. It was just for my defense, though. I stacked up. So I'm going into playoffs. I'm stacking Philadelphia's defense and Baltimore's defense. The only reason why is mainly just for this week. I didn't want to play Baltimore against San Francisco. Philadelphia is playing Miami, which is like the juiciest matchup you can possibly have for a defense.
Yeah, that was on one of the most number 1 trending pickups of the week in Yahoo Fantasy. And on the season, you've had 23 roster moves, which isn't the most. It's about almost average compared to everybody else. We've had as little as Kayak in last place with 7. I just don't think Kayak really cares. I don't think he just really cares about it.
I think he saw his draft and he lost his first couple weeks,
and he just gave up. Yeah,
which is fine. I got his money already, so it's not a big deal.
And by the way, it's not like a huge amount of money, ladies and gents. It's a $10 a year upkeep fee for the league. And so what happens is we have a trophy we bought last year, and we have 10 more spaces to put the champion's name on. So each year we send it back to the company, and they drill in this little plate that goes onto the trophy. And we have 9 more of those. And we'll get into what happened to last year's winner when we go down the list. In second place right now is Pepper. His team is it's Munger. His team name is Tom Brady for President. He's outscored his opponents on the season by 340 points and had 28 roster moves. You hate Munger. He's got New England Patriots defense, I believe.
That's definitely his MVP on the season.
MVP on the season. We're going to do comparison between first and second place right now. And our first and second place on Week 13, which starts Thursday night, is going to be the last week of regular season, and then there's 3 weeks of playoffs with first and second, who have already clinched playoff spots and will clinch the number 1 and 2 spot. They have first round
buys. Both of us
buys.
have actually clinched the bye already too. Like we clinched the bye last week.
Yes.
So no one was going to take that from us. But
yeah, the rest of the league. So currently, I have it written down here somewhere. It's all in one. You both sitting at 10-2. Cut's got more points on the season. Pepper is in sole third at 7-5, and there are 1, 2, 3. There's 5 teams that are there's 4 teams that are 6-6, and after that it doesn't matter.
One of those teams is not going to make playoffs, which is pretty interesting. So this is a big week.
We'll talk about. I have my prediction, and I'll tell you why. Who I think is not going to make the playoff this week.
Okay, I'll look at the matchups.
So you have, and a lot of them. I want to say no 6-6 team plays each other too, so it's not like one of them wins and will automatically knock one out of the playoffs.
They're all just going on. They all hold their own fate.
So out of a 10-team league, all 4 6-6 teams play someone that's not a 6-6 team, so they all control their own destiny per se. So in fourth place is Grood Where's My Car, which is Carry On. He's kind of in the gym a lot, but he has actually been outscored by his opponents by 136 points on the season. In fifth place,
it's not too big.
No, but that being said, that means he's hit the matchups where people have scored way less. So he's played the teams where his team underperforms and still beats out the me and Kayak.
He's actually playing Kayak this week too. He's projected to beat him by 25.
Yeah, Kayak's team is not good. He drafted a lot of Bears. He's in last place. He drafted I think 4 Bears players. Like, who drafts 4 people from one team, let alone 4
He also
Chicago Bears?
Drafted Baker Mayfield, which ended up being a bust, because I'm pretty sure Baker Mayfield's outside the top 12.
He's a huge bust. He was all coming on like, I'm here to prove you, I don't need your respect, and here we are here in the same.
Baker's had a decent couple weeks, though. He has. He's had a decent last, I think, 3 weeks.
Okay, so he's been a Sam Darnold, okay? You saw that. You saw that thing today, right?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold compared to Tom Brady during the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm still picking Tom Brady.
He's not been putting up very good fucking fantasy points, but I would play Brady over Darnold given the choice.
If I was an NFL owner and there's this magic sorceress and she was like, you get to have Sam Darnold as your quarterback, or I get to stick this needle in your eyeball, but you get to have Tom Brady, I'm taking that needle in my eyeball 10 out of 10 times.
Oh, let me see the matchup.
No, I'm just talking about if you're going to start your franchise with either Sam Darnold or Brady.
Oh yeah, no, I think Darnold's going to end up being a bust. I don't think he.
I think he's
a game manager.
I think he's going to be underneath a Phillip Rivers. He's going to be over Joe Flacco, but he's going to be under Phillip Rivers.
I think if you put Sam Darnold on the Rams, he would do just as good
as Jared Goff. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think they're the same player. I think Goff's just got better playmakers around him.
In fifth place, El Good Chapo. That is someone we met during our deployment. He's a great guy. Chapo Moreno. He likes the Dolphins and Marlins, so cut him some slack. But I've heard that his mother-in-law has the nicest calf muscles you can ever have as a person, he told us.
Better than mine, which is hard to do.
Which is, one day if we ever show a picture of Cut's calves, you'll be like, those are ginormous. And doesn't even work them out. They're just naturally...
They're just naturally giant. He doesn't have that bad of a lineup either. So he's got Rodgers, Beckham...
Rodgers, though, against San Fran, I feel bad for the guy.
Probably going to be his MVP on the season. Other than Zach Ertz, he's got the number 1 tight end on the year.
Yeah. In sixth place is Carr with his team, the Nightmen. Oh, by the way, we'll go back. Chapo Moreno, he's outscored his opponents by 2 points. That's the lowest margin.
So in sixth place, Carr, he's at minus 153. So his opponents have outscored him on the season. But hey, he's still in the playoffs, so it don't matter.
He's in the running for it.
He's in the running
for it. He's in fourth place right now with a loss. A loss would definitely bump him out, barring other 6-6 losses.
Right. Carr is the Dr. Evil of tech sergeants, but he's the funniest guy to talk to.
He's amazing. He's a good guy.
Great guy. Seventh place is Taylor's CL scandal. We're not going to tell that story today. We're not going to tell that story tomorrow. We're going to tell that story way down the line. I'm not going to release that.
Way down the line.
Like, it's not worth everyone knowing until they need to know.
This team actually, his whole team baffles me. Just because he's maybe set his lineup 5 times on the season.
Oh yeah, I wrote down an amazing stat today about his team, which really frustrates me because on the season he's had 3 roster moves of waivers, and I've had 28, excluding I think I got 4. I was the number 2 in the waivers. I know Kayak probably wasn't really going to try to hit it, so I just kept putting in players. I already have my keepers in mind, so I didn't get rid of like crazy keepers, but I definitely moved a lot of people that I didn't care about. But I didn't drop like Juju. I didn't drop Sanu. I wouldn't drop anybody that I want somebody else to pick up and use, like in the championship league. I basically just dropped every. Yeah, I usually because I've got my number 1 and 2 so far, but I don't know who I want to pick for 3 for my keepers for sure. I don't know where the stat is.
We might have a trade in the works too. I'm leaning more and more towards that off-season trade. We won't talk about it in this podcast, but
right.
We'll get into that later on.
I want. Oh yeah. Here it is. So Chomsky, the guy who has 50 cal firing, who's partially helped create the name of the league. He is the last league activity to actually touch his team, and it dates back to the 19th at 8:44 a.m. Pacific time. So everyone else has been touching their teams for like the last couple of days. At least like 2, they touched the team on Saturday. Today's Wednesday, so they haven't touched their team yet. But basically, he hasn't touched his team since the prior week, and he still beat me. And he didn't even have a running back.
He also started Devonta Freeman, who's been out for the last 3 weeks. He started him every week he's been out.
And that's how underperformed my team has been the entire season, with me sitting at 9th place.
It's been a rough season for you.
My opponents have outscored me by 267 points on the season, and I have had the hardest league schedule out of anybody else in the league on the season.
Yeah. You had to play Munger twice, is that correct?
I had to play you twice, Munger twice, and Pepper twice. So I had to play 1, 2, and 3.
You had to play the top 3 guys twice in this. And if you go back to like the beginning of the year and you look at your roster, it's not a terrible fucking roster. Like Tom Brady,
Ezekiel Elliott,
Russell Wilson, who's arguably MVP. My vote is definitely for Lamar Jackson, but
yeah.
You also had Juju Smith-Schuster. You had Ezekiel Elliott, who was a reach.
And Juju could have did better. Juju could have did better. I'm not saying that Ben Roethlisberger is the answer.
The Big Ben injury is definitely.
Yeah, it sucks, but it was his year to prove himself with AB gone. And
he hasn't had a bad year though. He really hasn't.
No, but he's been hurt. He's been hurt a couple games.
I don't know when you drafted him. I would assume you drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round.
I think he was my first pick was Ezekiel Elliott. My second pick was another running back, and then my 3rd pick was Juju. So
yeah, and then 4 you got Gordon.
Yeah, I took a risk on Gordon for sure, which he finally came back, but. I thought with Gordon coming back and with everybody who's 6-6, I was right there to contend a couple weeks ago, or a month ago when he came back. But I've just been getting slaughtered.
Yeah, so Juju's definitely having an off year because he's got 524 receiving yards in the year, averaging 52 yards a game. He is averaging 13 yards a reception.
Right.
Which is a whole yard more than what he was last year, but he's just not getting the looks.
Yeah.
He's only been targeted 60 times this year. Last year, he was targeted 166 times on the year. I mean, I know we're missing 6 games on it, but I doubt we're going to get 100 targets in 6 games.
Yeah, it's super tough though when your starting quarterback goes out. And I'm not saying Roethlisberger is the answer. I'm just saying I'd rather have Roethlisberger in the season than Mason Rudolph.
Roethlisberger is the answer for the Steelers.
Yeah.
That's definitely their missing link there. He went out with a non-contact elbow injury at the beginning of the year, and that just killed their whole season.
Yeah, so and Mike
Mason Rudolph was not their number 2 guy. He shouldn't have been.
No,
hindsight.
And Mike Tomlin has never had a negative record for a season, so he's still he's still fighting for 8-8. So for him,
that division is also trash too.
Oh, they're real quick off fantasy. Browns, Steelers. Who you got? That's the Sunday.
Are they playing this week?
It's either Sunday or Monday, but I'm pretty sure it's Sunday.
I think I'll take the Browns for their next matchup. I mean, they won the last matchup.
I think with they put in their third string and they bench Mason. I think that a lot of Browns players will be playing with a lot of emotion and having a entirely different.
Steelers will be playing with emotion too because of the whole Myles Garrett helmet ordeal.
Right, but their leader on offense, their defense will be playing on that level. But I think having a different leader on offense will he was never in that scrum. Yeah, he's still a Steeler, but he's not gonna force a throw because he's angry and he wants to outscore. He's completely fresh into the scenario.
It's definitely a good move for them to move on to Duck. I mean,
but
I don't think Mason Rudolph was the right guy to go with in the beginning anyways.
I bet against the Browns twice.
And he's unproven, but I mean now he's proven himself as a third string quarterback.
Yeah, and I bet against the Browns twice this season and lost on both those bets. So I'm gonna just go ahead and bet against him again because I know I can finally win. It's so weird. I can never. Oh yeah, this is the first time in my life, let alone twice in a row, that I've bet against the Browns and they've won their games. When has that happened? And who was it? Aaron Jones just said we got to win on Sunday because good teams don't lose twice. So I guess I must not be a good gambler.
Good teams don't lose twice.
The
Patriots are 10-1.
Right. We'll do a quick comparison between the first and second place teams between Munger and Cut. We'll just do some quick highlights. So the highest average points that you've won, you have the highest average points on the season. So the highest average is 135.54 points on the season. And you've scored the most points this season with 216 points. I'm not using decimal places. We do decimal points. I just didn't feel like writing out a bunch of point whatevers.
Wait, where'd your 216 come from?
I think you've scored the most points this season. So like you.
Yeah, no, I have 1,909.
But what's your highest game?
Oh, okay. You're going for single game. Okay.
Yeah, single.
I thought you meant like
your highest average is 135 from those games. But you've actually scored the highest amount of points this season. I believe Carr owns the record from last season, but this season you have the most points with 216. Munger has the best defense, the Patriots defense this year. Explosive.
MVP of the season for him.
I'll let you can talk about the Patriots defense a little bit, being a Patriots fan.
I mean, the Patriots defense this year really stepped up. It was a huge year for them. Last year they were pretty decent, but this year with all the offensive line work that we've had to do and the committee at running backs, I'm not even mad at the running backs. It's more or less just the wide receiving core and the lack of talent that we've had. Obviously, we have Julian Edelman, who's huge. He's the best slot receiver to play the game. I hold him head and shoulders above Wes Welker just because of the numbers.
Right.
But, I mean, losing Antonio Brown, not having N'Keal Harry throughout most of the year. He had a pretty decent game last week. I mean, the offense just hasn't shown up, and I base it all on the offensive line and the wide receivers. But the defense, I mean, Dante Hightower and our secondary is the MVP of our defense.
Right. He shut down.
Stephon Gilmore. Gilmore is the best cornerback in the league. He hasn't given up a single reception in the last 3 weeks, which I think is insane.
As much as I enjoyed the
I do enjoy comedy, so even when you're bashing my team, the Green Bay Packers memes were hilarious, but the meme of the football week was a wanted poster of have you seen Dak? No, not Dak Prescott. Have you seen Amari Cooper?
Oh yeah.
He had 0 receptions.
He's gone missing.
Yeah, he was completely irrelevant. He was there.
Might as well not have even been there.
I don't even remember him being there. Did they even say his name?
No.
I heard
they said it once. He actually did. He did catch a ball.
Oh, okay.
But it got brought back.
Oh yeah.
There was a penalty, and that play never happened.
I mean, I don't remember hearing his name very much, but I always remember that John. Not John. I always remember that. What's his name? That quarterback that announces with Joe Buck. Troy Aikman. Yeah, I just remember Troy Aikman every single game. He goes, "Yeah, when I was a quarterback, we'd do this," and I mean, like, yeah, that was like so long ago, and the Cowboys are trash.
That was
So
in the 90s.
yeah, that's when you had
The
a deep
Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since he played. So
in 20 years. So we them boys.
20 going on
20 years ago. So
30.
Munger's defense averages 22 points each week. Our defense is 2 points interception / turnover, so fumbles, 2 points for a sack, and then various amount of points for points allowed.
It's pretty much standard scoring.
Standard scoring except for the sack. The sack, because sacks are important because sometimes, like,
They change the game.
they really do. Sometimes a team can allow 400 yards and 2 touchdowns, but they might have, 8 sacks. That's 16 points offsetting negative. And sacks are very important. They can knock a team out of field goal range. They can rattle the quarterback. They can blow up pressure up the middle. There's a lot that goes on. So sacks are actually
Sacks are real important. You can bring that back to the Atlanta Patriots Super Bowl. We sacked Matt Ryan back when they had that last drive. If we hadn't gotten that sack on third down, they would have been in field goal range. We pushed them 5 yards out of field goal range, so that completely changed the tides of the game, and that's why I increased it from 1 point to 2 points.
And no play on intentions, but that's why we value sacks in the NFFLFS. We love them. We love sacks.
Love sacks in the NFFLFS.
Cut has the most points drafted from players, so his original roster has scored the most points out of anyone's original roster on the season. And his team has actually scored the most amount of touchdowns with 87 this year, courtesy Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey.
That's it. You can't call Dalvin Cook out of that. He's a beast too.
Your single week record is tied. I think you guys have that tied. You have the most field goals on the season, which also helps with 26 made field goals. So, at minimal yards, just 3 points a pop. So, 3 times 26. That's a big number, so that's 60. So that's 78 points if they were all made within the 30.
I picked up Bucker back this week, so I had to drop him so I could.
I changed my field goal kicker to, I don't even know, but he scored more points than the guy that I had. So because basically what happened was I had originally. Who did I have originally? I had. That's how much my kicker sucked. My kicker got hurt, so I had to drop him, and then I used a single kicker until my bye week, and then I dropped him, and then I've been using YOO, and then U's on first, and then after I dropped U, now I have who's ever scored more points than he has on the season, and it's predict that he's going to score more field goals. So field goal kickers are important, but you have 26 made field goals, and then you have the largest average margin of victory by outscoring your opponents 45.8 points per game on average.
That's big.
That's huge. That's huge. That's like throwing in another 4 touchdown game by Lamar Jackson. That's like throwing in another 4 touchdown running. That's like throwing in another 2 touchdown, 300 yards offense Christian McCaffrey game. You're scoring big points with all of your players. And what's funny, if we look at it, is first, second, and third, we look at preseason predictions. So we did the draft. Yahoo's algorithm goes through who knows what. In third place, the AMU Eagles, ran by Pepper, had a score of B-.
for his overall draft rating, while second place, Tom Brady for Prez, Munger, had an A- and had the top score. And where do we see first place team cut? He drafted with the lowest score at a C, and he's in first place. So a lot of your bolder, heavy. I mean, everyone has their own strategies. We've each had different backgrounds for research for preseason. I believe you listen to podcast and
yeah, there's a couple of really good podcasts I listen to. I'm not going to give them a shout out on this one.
No, that's fine because one, they don't even know we exist. Two, nobody cares. And three, that's your inside information.
Exactly. I mean, it's very easy to go find them. They're great guys, though. It's a set of 4 dudes, and they've helped me out. Like I came into listening to them with a game plan on the year, and they've just backed up my ideas. And that's pretty much what it's been. It's just reassurance for me.
Right. I've also read into how you should draft, how you should value each player. Which one that holds near and dear to me is you can draft the 6th or 7th or 8th round quarterback and still win. I believe that you need more high impact players, especially running backs, because your quarterback can throw to any wide receiver, but the running backs
it's all about touches.
It's all about touches, and even in a 2-back system, if your back is outperforming the number 2 back, he's going to get 3 carries to every 1 carry. And he's going to be in for the non-carry plays, too. He's going to be in for the 5-yard flare plays, which gives you we're a half PPR league. So it's going to give you a half PPR for every reception. So those little dump passes for 1 yard, well, that's 0.6 more points for me. One thing that I did this year that I regret, last year I was in the playoffs. I think I finished second maybe. And I drafted Zach Ertz in an earlier round because I wanted a dominant. Gronk was still playing, and someone drafted Gronk high because Gronk always drafted high.
Gronk's it's a low first, high second round draft pick.
Yeah, as a tight end.
If he came into the league next year, I think he'd still be a second round pick.
Yeah, and I drafted Ertz maybe round 4 because I was like, I need and Ertz was the second best tight end, I think, last year, if not first. It was between Ertz, Gronk. Gronk got hurt, didn't he? Gronk missed the middle of the season.
Yeah, no, he missed a couple of games.
Yeah, and then Kansas City's Travis Kelce, he's also one of those. And then the guy for San Francisco played with a broken foot.
Kittle.
He's been dominant this season.
Ankle.
Broken ankle, yeah. So he's been playing dominant. So if I could give any tip to people who've never played fantasy football, don't underestimate your tight ends. For sure. Who's your tight end this season?
Waller, the Raiders.
Yeah,
He's a top 5 tight end on the year.
I have Fant because he's the best I could get at the time. My tight end went down early. I think it was Reed. I don't know. Tight ends, I didn't take them serious this year. Whatever. So, out of all the teams... Oh, yeah, let's give a little bit of backstory. So, we've been doing this league for 2 years, and we had Dick. He released all his players, so Big Daddy Lang, he came and took that. And he actually... Did he beat you last week, or did you beat him?
He didn't. Yeah, no, I snuck it out. I needed Lamar Jackson to score 19 points. He ended up scoring over 40. So.
But someone coming into the league fresh who should have theoretically just finished in 10th place and we found someone next year is actually outplaying me, which just does a lot for my confidence.
No, it's not hard to do.
Right? So out of the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th place, all being 6 and 6, between 4th place, who's Carry On, 5th place, who's Moreno, 6th place, who's Carr, and 7th place, who's Chomsky. Who do you think is going to miss the playoffs and why?
Oh, let me look at the overview real quick.
So I'll go over my. Go ahead.
So I'm looking at it right now, and honestly, see, it's rough to look at because I think Munger's gonna win, so I think Carr's out.
Right. Okay. So Carr's gonna mark it.
Sorry. Carry On's gonna be out.
Okay, so I'm gonna put an L next to Carry On.
I think Carr, the Nightman, I think they're gonna beat Kayak.
All right.
Just because I have no faith in Kayak's team.
No, not even he does.
We
do like you, Kayak.
I think I'm gonna beat Chapo.
Okay, so Chapo could have a loss, and he actually would have more points, but yeah, keep going.
I really do think that Langston's going to be Chalmers just because he's not going to set his lineup, so he's not going to have a full roster.
So here's the thing. We have our own little – we're not going to make a website for our league, but we made a little Facebook group. It's private, so we can just post like little updates, little season updates. We posted what we did with Langston, introduced him to the league. Oh, and what we voted on for the trophy is if you just like get out of the league, if you just like finish the year off, like you finish 2019 fantasy football – come 2020 and you're like, hey, I'm done with it. I won last year. I don't have enough time for it this year. We're going to leave your name on the trophy, not touch it. You know, you gave us the courtesy. You gave us time to figure it out. But when you dump...
The only way you get out of the league and get your name left on there is if you get out under honorable conditions.
So not dumping your team like a little dick would. And so we took a league vote. And just like the Rogue Shinobi Ninjas, we're going to do a single line. We're going to leave the thing on there because we don't want to take it off because that kind of ruins the integrity of the trophy.
We don't want to take the plaque off. We're going to leave the plaque on there.
Yeah, because then you could just like take the plaque off and put whose ever name on. We're not USC. We're not going to give up Reggie Bush's Heisman and then give it to somebody else. We're just going to leave.
He deserves the Heisman. It's his Heisman.
Yeah, he didn't do steroids. He just took money. So
you're not going to give it to Vince Young because fuck that guy.
Quick side note. Pete Carroll had his payers played, never took any repercussions, and still coaches a good team, and he never got punished for it. And that program is still suffering because of Pete Carroll. And that's why...
USC has been suffering for 10 years now. And we've had some good players come in and out of the team.
And Pete Carroll's never looked back.
He hasn't, and he shouldn't. He's won a couple Super Bowls since then.
More
power to you, Pete.
All of his USC trophies are in a box in his basement covered in dust. They're in wooden boxes he had made, and then over the wooden boxes is the Super Bowl trophy because no one's ever going to just take off a Super Bowl trophy to see what's in that box. They're just going to keep looking at that Super Bowl trophy. Yeah, so...
And they're definitely looking to revoke those trophies, but they're never going to find them.
I mean, they can revoke them all they want. They're still going to have his name on it. I'm just saying. So, because he dumped his team and didn't, discuss it or anything, or hey, even if something happens in the middle of the season, you're like, hey guys, something happened. This blank came up. I can't play anymore. That's still better than being a little dick and dumping your roster overnight. To me waking up on a Sunday morning before I'm still trying to I'm watching waivers. I'm watching.
You're making your last minute game decisions.
I'm watching the injury report by that little bald dude on ESPN because he's super duper. No, on Fox. I don't know his name, but he's the shorter guy, and everyone makes fun of him because he's so short. I don't know what his name is, but I always watch his injury report because him and then Adam Schefter are like my two number 1 and 2 sources for the NFL that I still trust to this day. Like whenever they release information, I'm like, wow. Do you know who said it? Adam Schefter.
The number 1 for me.
Like if I told you something outrageous, like, hey, Tom Brady just got traded to the Cowboys, you would say, I don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
But if I said Adam Schefter just reported that Tom Brady's being traded to the Patriots, you'd be like, Adam Schefter said that? No way.
I would immediately shoot myself in the head.
Nah. Somehow. So talking with the current NFL, my brother, who's a diehard Lions fan, blessed be thy name, he said he wishes Stafford could. I told him Stafford's going to die a Lion. He's going to play his entire career there. He's going to always hold the career.
Is it Jay Glazer?
Jay Glazer, that's his name. He's got a great injury report. I always watch.
Yes.
I like
his updates.
I love Terry Bradshaw, but boy, do I like his updates more. So
Terry Bradshaw is the old school Troy Aikman.
Yeah, and then when my grandpa was alive too, Howie Long, he'd always be like, "Oh, that Howie Long was one mean player." And then you see Howie Long in like Skechers commercials, like this guy, like. But at the same time, I mean, look at Ice Cube, like then and now. Like Ice Cube, like coming up was like, the establishment and equal rights and all this stuff, and now he's like America's Family Man comedy, 22 Jump Street, hilarious.
But he did all that, and then he did like 2 Are We There Yet movies. Everyone was like, "Wait, who is that?"
Yeah, I still respect him more than Ice-T because Ice-T's been a special victim units cop for more than he has been a rapper. What's God talking about?
He's talking about dinner.
What do you gotta have for dinner?
We got chicken and rice and broccoli. Little healthy dinner before the Thanksgiving massacre.
So before we get too far off topic, we're gonna reset back to. I still think that even though your prediction is Carr's gonna lose, Chapo's gonna lose, and Chalmers is gonna lose because he probably won't set his lineup, I'm not gonna text anybody, hey, you should set your lineup. You know, during the season, sometimes we'll be like, hey, are you playing? What's going on with your team? Like, please show interest. I hate when people scapegoat wins when you see their bench outscoring them. And during the 1 week where we had to physically lock Dick's team, and then we had 1 week where we didn't have an owner for it, we just we let everyone know, hey, this is the roster we're going to set. Look at the matchups. If anybody thinks that anybody else should be starting over somebody, let us know. We just put the best projected points in because I think that's the fairest thing you can do at the time. But when people don't play and they're actively still in the league and, you know, they just, who cares? It hurts the league. So I'm not going to say, hey, you know, you need to set your lineup, but I am going to throw this podcast link up on our page so people can kind of, you know, we're talking fantasy football, so of course the people from the league are going to want to hear about it. Munger's gonna like tally like every time you said Munger's name, and he's gonna be like, oh my god, they all love me. Munger. It's all about me. It's all about the Munger time. And then Pepper's just gonna be like, I'm not gonna listen because I hate these people.
Yeah, that's all right. He's gonna get bumped out first round of playoffs anyway. So my prediction, who's gonna miss playoffs? I think it's gonna be Chalmers. I think he's gonna miss.
I think Chalmers is gonna miss too.
Yeah, he's got the lowest points for. I don't think he's going to put up enough to get past Carr. And I think the top six that are in it right now are going to be the top six that are going to be in playoffs.
Okay, yeah, because at one point Chalmers played.
He was in the 4 spot.
At one point, he was playing Xbox with us. He was playing Apex, and he was talking smack to me, going, "Oh, you just didn't do your internet research like we did," because he was all boasting and bragging that he was going to make the playoffs, and now he's knocked out 2 weeks later because he just didn't set his lineup. I'm losing to somebody that's not even setting their lineup for the last 2 weeks. I actually have the least average points scored per game this season at 90. So if you compare that to your points scored for the season, so you've scored on average 135 points. I've scored the lowest on average of 90.77. Munger has had the easiest strength of schedule this season. So he's in second place, but he's had, who did we compare it to? He had the 49ers first 8 games. He had the Dallas Cowboys first 3 games. He had the easiest strength of schedule so far for the season. You both have 10 wins on the season. We've discussed that. And another thing I want to dive into for fantasy football. How do you mostly play fantasy, from drafting to weekly like trends and dropping and waivers? Like, so do you use PC or phone for drafting, or what technology do you use when you draft and when you play week to week?
Drafting, I'm a big fan of using the PC and then having the phone for research, for like up-to-date stuff that's going on, because depending on what week you draft, whether it's the week before regular season starts or halfway through preseason, you never know what's going to happen, so you always want to be up to date on, all your NFL news. So I like having the PC to draft on, and then the phone for like the quick research. You got to research in between rounds just to see who's left, and you got to research players and see how they're doing health wise.
And you don't want to just jump back and be, you're dual wielding, so you don't have to open up more tabs besides your original
Exactly.
tab.
You just have both of them open. That way you see which guys are being taken off the board live time, and then you just keep yourself updated. So I like akimbo with the PC for the draft, and then your phone for the research.
So, and then during the regular season, what do you primarily use for setting your rosters week to week?
Primarily this year it's been my phone.
Okay.
It's because I haven't really need to dual wield anything in the PC. There's a lot of extra information on the PC, and I just like seeing the overalls, like what like the matchups and what the players have scored throughout the year, and
Right.
And then on top of that, I go through my podcasts and I listen to those guys, and I look at what people have done throughout the years, and I just look at the injury reports. So I don't really need multiple devices for that.
Right.
All the extra averages and stuff just gets in my head. I don't like to tinker too much, so I like the simplicity of the phone.
See, I actually yesterday actually, because we discussed like, hey, let's do a fantasy football podcast, and definitely it's easier talking to a person so we can bounce ideas, not just filling content and saying and all the time. But going back to while I was doing research for this specific podcast, I dove deep into a PC into fantasy football. And there's so many tools that I've never, because the year that I won, which is downstairs, which is the league where I actually ran, but I didn't want to play with those people ever again because they were just a bunch of phonies. So we just disbanded that league, and then you're like, hey, I'm actually going to do a league, and I was like, cool. And then I became the assistant to the regional commissioner this year. So the one league that I actually won, I only used my phone, and so I always drafted on the computer, like you said, and used the phone. But the season, I've always did all my roster lineups with specifically my phone. But my overall process after doing all this research is I'm gonna solely use my computer every week. And yes, I'll use my phone for quick transitions and maybe do some daily updates. But the amount of stats that Yahoo puts up weekly, daily about players, about trends. They have a weather app, which is each specific updated weather for the game. So you can be like, oh, which quarterback should I start? I have 2 top-tier quarterbacks. Oh, one's playing inside of a dome. The other's projected 70% chance of rain. Like, that's not offered on the phone. Maybe if you have like Samsung or
Yahoo app. There's other apps you can go to too, which is that's one of the things that I do.
But I like for our league, everything's in one spot. Apps. So I think next year, along with using a PC more, I think I'm gonna just use that more than just the draft because there's so many more things I can look. Because I like specific. I try to set my lineups either late Wednesday, early Thursday. I get the waivers. I see who's left over.
That's one of the things I do is I set my lineups every day. So I look over them and I double check everything. I see who's on the waivers and I'll look at who's in my lineup and I'll just go over it every day just to see who I want. Like today, I dropped my extra kicker and I picked up AJ Green.
Right.
Just because his ankle injury is day to day. And he might play. I'm probably not going to put him in my lineup this week.
But his team sucks, so he's going to start.
Next week I have a bye.
Right.
And so week 15 and 16, he could be a big player in my team just because, Andy Dalton's coming back and that's his guy.
And he's not going to he's not going to rest. He's not going to, let's sit out. He's going to come and, try to put up some numbers before the end of the season.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't, it's no skin off my back because I just dropped a kicker for him that I'm not going to play the rest of the year anyways.
I almost wanted to pick him up, but I only have one more week to go, so I basically said who's going to be the best person because I didn't drop anybody. I wanted somebody who could win pickup, and I didn't want to drop any of my. I mean, it's not going to allow you. I'm not going to drop my top 3 performers, but that'd be stupid for 1 week. So I basically dropped just a bunch of people who I picked up week to week. So I think I had 4 waiver wire approvals, but yeah, just like you, I'll just open up my app once a day at least. Like Tuesday morning shows who lost, who won. It'll grade you, yada yada yada. I set my immediate lineup, and then I go to waivers. I put in my waivers. Wednesday morning, waivers come out. Who do I have now? Then I tinker again, and then I try to pick up more people, and then Thursday comes along, and I'm kind of praying that I don't have anybody playing on Thursday, so I have more options for Sunday. And then I'm still hitting up waivers, and I'm still picking up and dropping people Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday morning, about 10 o'clock, I like to wake up and be like, okay, I've got 3 hours to set my lineup. Let's watch NFL and see who's playing. And the thing that sucked is I did watch the injury report, but I forgot to change Juju out, so that's one of the reasons. And if I would have started Tom Brady over Russell Wilson, I would have beat Chalmers and still been in the playoff contention.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
So, who do you got for the Thanksgiving Day games? We got 3 games that day, right?
We have Bears, Lions.
The Bills, Cowboys, and Saints, Falcons.
Right. So there's, I got in the mail from a gambling website like bet on the Lions Bears straight up spread, and we'll like credit you points. But I'm not gonna gamble on Thanksgiving because I'm gonna actually go over to my parents. I just don't want to be like, turn on the game. I need to know the spread. I'm just gonna take that day off. But I think that the Lions playing their third string quarterback, they're gonna lose to the Bears, and they're gonna fire Matt Patricia way too early. I still think Matt Patricia should get another year.
I think he's gonna get one more year.
But fans are calling for his head if they lose against the Bears.
I think the owners leave before Matt Patricia does.
Mary Ford doesn't want to sell. She doesn't want to sell that team. So
I know. I think she's gonna. I don't think she's gonna sell. I think she's gonna lose authority.
Okay. I mean, she's already. I mean, comparing it to. I mean, I'm not a Lions fan, but I live in Michigan, so I see firsthand on the fans and how they treat the Lions and the owners. And she's already lost the respect and faith of the fans. They just want somebody else to buy it who's gonna. She needs to sell it. Realistically, if you want the Lions
to hire a manager that'll take over her position, she'll still have sole ownership.
She needs to take she needs to take the Ford curse off the Lions. Okay, change Ford Field too. Make it. We have the Little Caesars Pizza Arena. Make it the. I don't even know what else. I'm trying to think of another Michigan company that's possibly even pizza based, but I can't off the top of my head. But get rid of the Ford because it's not doing anything for the Lions but holding them down now. And that's why everyone in Detroit is right now. And Barstool even made it. I think there's a radio station out here called the 97.1 The Ticket, and that radio host texted somebody from Barstool to make this shirt, and Barstool Sports made this shirt. So right now, Barstool Sports has a Lion shirt that has Mary Ford's face on it that says "Sell the team." I think they're hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so
that'd be a good gift for Pepper.
Yeah, my brother actually bought one, so he's gonna be. I bought my brother last year for Christmas a shirt that said, "Please just give us one," and it's not gonna be this year. So
no, definitely not.
So going into a quick preview for so whatever happens. The playoffs are gonna go. There's gonna be a champion. The season ends. Who you get to keep? Who are at least two? If you feel, I'll tell you mine right off the bat for my keepers.
I mean, I'll give you my three keepers right now. I mean, I already know who they are. Like these last couple weeks have been very forgiving to me. Like I know what I'm doing. I'm keeping Lamar Jackson. I'm going to ride and die with him.
Okay.
And then Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. Those are my three keepers in the year.
So I had three keepers with the possibility of dumping one because I still want to. I low key want to keep Juju. And I want to keep Melvin Gordon, and I want to keep Zeke.
You got to keep Zeke.
You got to keep Zeke. Zeke's my number one overall draft pick. He's staying because, especially with the rumors right now that the number one prospect coach for the Dallas Cowboys, if Jason Garrett is indeed fired, is Urban Meyer, which is Zeke Elliott's old coach. And of course, always, especially, I mean, look at, here's why I'm fearful for the Packers. Look at the Rams. Brand new head coach. Crazy offense. Look at all these numbers. Super Bowl gets beat by Bill Belichick, who put in the work. The rest of the NFL puts in the work. This second-year head coach, where are the Rams at? Nobody knows. They're not even in the contenders right now. They're contending for a wild card slot, and they're not doing a very good job at it. So that's why I'm kind of fearful for the Packers.
They're not even going to get that wild card slot because it's going to be the Niners and
or the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
Both of those guys are going to playoffs, and the Rams aren't even. They're going to be an afterthought.
Yeah, and
they're done. Their season's over. There's no way. Unless both of those teams lose out, they're not going to even have a shot at playoffs.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. And they've had last year innovative head coach, blah, 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 and then the Packers did the same thing, and people had this back and forth. So your first year is so important, and, man, the Packers have done a great job this season. Even though they just got blown out by the 49ers, they've had a fantastic season bouncing back with a first-time coach. But what about next season, So the other starter, though, is Russ. Russ still puts up these high numbers. So Zeke Elliott is going to stay, and then I have a bounce around between Juju, Melvin Gordon, and Russell Wilson. So definitely Zeke, and then I have to choose.
Barring any off-season trades.
Yes, for sure. Because inside collusion. No, it's not collusion. It's just trading for next season. So, predictions for Thursday then. Since tomorrow's Thanksgiving, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So I think that the Lions using their third string quarter. I tweeted them. I said I played Air Force flag football quarterback for 2 seasons, and I made the playoffs, so you could use the experience. So just have me come on. What do you got to lose? I know they never take that offer seriously, but them using their third string quarterback and getting blocked by the XFL of interviewing another quarterback, I think they lose against the Bears. I think the Saints win, and I think the Cowboys win, but I hope the Bills upset the Cowboys because God, I hate the Cowboys.
Okay. So if I were a bet man,
okay,
which I am, I got money on the Bears.
Okay.
I got money on the Bills.
Okay.
And I got money on the Falcons
against the Saints.
Yep, the Falcons ate up that O-line last time they played, and it was they trounced them.
Who's at home?
It was insane. Oh, who is at home? I think the Saints are at home.
I personally don't know.
Oh, the Falcons are at home. Saints at Falcons.
So I still think the Saints get it done. So you know what? I said I wasn't going to gamble on Thanksgiving. We're going to scratch that up. So I'm going to make a 3-team parlay. I'm going to go Bears. I'm going to go Saints, and then I'm going to go Bills. I'm going to do a little 3-team parlay action.
I think the Bills are going to beat the Cowboys.
I mean, I hope
really
so. I personally think Jason Garrett, no matter what's going to be fired at the end of the season. I don't think he's going to get, unless he loses.
I think he should be fired right the fuck now. I don't know why they've held on to him for so long. He's the 3rd highest tenured coach in the league, and they've won 2 playoff games under his reign. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, he's
a high class Jeff Fisher. He needs to be out.
Poor Jeff Fisher. I'd actually rather have Jeff Fisher than Jason Garrett. Because
Exactly.
Jeff Fisher ain't trying to high-five me every time that we fumble the ball. Guys, just give me a high-five. It'll be okay. I mean, there's positivity, but then there's realization that, these players... The Cowboys have a team right now that if someone would have lit a fire under their ass, they could be playoff contenders. Not Super Bowl contenders, because let's be real. But they could be a lot better than they are right now. And Jason Garrett's... I like Pat McAfee a lot, and he said that he's lost the respect of the locker room. So once a head coach loses the respect of the locker room, he's pretty much on his way out already. So I think ultimately, though, with a loss against the Bills on a traditional Thanksgiving football game, I think Jason Garrett gets fired over the weekend.
I can see that happening.
If the Bills win, especially a domination, if the Bills win by more than a touchdown, so if they win by 10 points or more, even in a last minute Hail Mary victory over the Cowboys. If the Cowboys lose at all, period, on Thursday, I think Jason Garrett's fired. I don't think they're going to fire him over the holiday weekend. They'll probably fire him Monday morning, but he's going to know. He's going to know Saturday night. Sources are going to let somebody know. They're going to talk about it early Sunday, and then Monday morning, the official press release that Jason Garrett's going to be fired by the Cowboys if he loses on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
All right, so hey, man, that just hits about an hour. If you don't know, me and Cut, we play a lot of video games with each other. So we're going to go jump on some Call of Duty. Oh, by the way, me and Gary got killed by it, and it was actually Gary. He was outperforming me in Shoot House like he always does. But in duos, I had 8 kills and he had 2, and we lost. But we tried the tournament. The tournament mode's actually litty like a titty.
What'd you guys make it to?
We lost the first round. Because I
you should try and do a tournament.
Oh, yeah, for sure, tonight. 100%.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to spend a lot of time with my family tomorrow, but, you're going to...
Yeah, I'll be in San Jose tomorrow all day. I am coming back. We're probably going to leave 8:30, so I'll be back 11 midnight my time.
Okay. Even if we don't play tomorrow, it's the holidays and it's a 3-day weekend, so whatever, but...
I'm also also off the next day too, so we can do that too.
Well, I got to work the next day, but we can definitely play. I mean, what time are you leaving for? Like you're gonna leave what? Like late morning, like 11, 12?
Oh no, I'm leaving early morning. I'll probably be out of here by 8 o'clock.
Okay, so you're looking to get off at what? Midnight tonight?
No, I'll probably stay up pretty late because I don't have anything to do. I have to wake up in the morning and prep this rice and do some other stuff. But
perfect. So you heard it here. We're gonna go jam on some video games. This was the JT Show episode 2 podcast. We're gonna get this uploaded as soon as we can. But I'm also gonna be playing Call of Duty till late in the night. Thanks for listening. I know I have 10 views up to the last one. So thanks for those 10. Hopefully we get 10 more. Signing out. Got anything else to say? Any handles? Any?
Let's go Team Cut for the dub.
Team Cut
championship. You heard it here first.
Team Cut for the dub. If you want to be on the podcast, just comment below. All that jazz, yada, yada, yada. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Signing out, JT Show.